Welcome to the show. This is What's Your Story? My name is Catherine Mwangi here at the Stanley Hotel Exchange, but to be specific. Thank you to the management for giving us the opportunity to film from here. We have today Fire Mama, and I kid you not, I've just met her like the last 5 minutes and she's spitting fire. Like she cannot wait for this interview to start already. I can't, at least I know that much. She's a media personality with almost 2 decades, actually more than 2 decades worth of experience and skill. Traversing different networks in this country. She has battled terminal diseases. She is into reggae and she is running for politics. And her life is what I want my life to be. That bravery, courage, without
Really?
what you've had to go through though.
Yeah, okay.
Without what you've had to go through. But you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very
Njambi
much,
Koikai.
Catherine. Thank you, yes, that's my name.
Kikuyu and Maasai.
Kenyan, I would say.
Oh, girl,
Kenyan.
I like that.
Yeah,
Kenyan.
Yeah.
But you just dropped some Kikuyu lines a few minutes ago. Come on.
Yeah. But this is not Kikuyu show. So, I mean, I can speak a lot of languages.
Yeah.
I can speak Maragoli. I can speak Rwandese.
How do you know Maragoli and...
I speak. I know a lot of things. Catherine, hang around me. I'll teach you a few things.
So for all the languages, Maragoli?
Yeah.
Amazing.
I speak a lot of languages.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we first got to know you properly, of course, through your work in the media, different shows on TV and radio as well. You love reggae, we'll get to that.
Yes.
But your story came out strong, at least for me, I know, when you had to go to the US to take care of endometriosis, which you've had for many years, many years.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we should start there, then work our way backwards.
Okay.
What happened? What has that been like?
My first preteen years, between, of course, the ages of 0 to 13, I was fine. I mean, just the usual picky kid, skinny, jig. I was a very geeky kid, very geeky. I was a geek, man.
We saw that on the trend, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that came out.
I was a geek, and I was a very weird child, in a very cool way.
Okay.
Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I was a very cool kid.
Okay.
I knew so much. I was very brilliant. I was very inquisitive, and I loved to read, and I loved to sing.
Oh,
Yeah.
you can sing?
I try to.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not going to embarrass myself. Anyway, I sing.
Okay.
And singing came from my grandmothers. I was raised by my grandmother, my late grandmother, who was named after Mary Njambi, the late great. I miss that woman every single day, Catherine. I miss my grandmother so much. And every single step of the way, every move I'm making today, I see my grandmother. We used to call her Mami.
Yeah.
So I see Mami, and I'm like, I wish she was here today,
To see.
Yeah, and she was my #1 cheerleader. She'd be like, go for it,
Yeah.
Go
Fire in your bones.
Go, I
Yeah.
raised you for this, So I was raised around my grandmother and her sisters. So she had 7 sisters. So we're all raised in the same place. And my mother. So I was raised by my grandmother and my single mother. So a lot of matriarchal energy and matriarchal
My
power and strength,
7 sisters.
Yes.
And your mom.
You're right. And all of them were around us with their families as well. So I was raised by old people. So I grew up listening to how old people talk. I had a grandmother who was 130 years, another one was 70, another one was 60, another one was 40 when I was growing up. So I grew up around all these women and listening to their experiences. And remember, none of them had formal education. I love to say they were alternatively educated. These women were wise, and they were strong and they were fierce, and there was no holding them back. They went for whatever they wanted. And that's the strength my grandmother instilled in me. She was always like, listen, we didn't come from privilege, but we're going to push you for opportunities we didn't get, and you're going to make it,
Or you're an only child?
No.
Okay.
I have other siblings. I have a sister.
Okay.
So I grew up around that, and my sister is also very well empowered, and she's done really well for herself. But my preteen years were very, they weren't really problematic. I wouldn't say in terms of my health. I was just a normal kid, just a geeky kid trying to find their way, trying to understand themselves really. And then age 13, I was in Form 1. Yeah. I was a very smart kid, so I ended up in Form 1 when I was supposed to be in primary school. So at 13, and I was a really tiny kid.
Yeah.
I was a really, really tiny girl. And I went to high school at 13.
Yeah.
And that's when I started my period. And you know, looking back at our cultures and, you know, how our grandmothers and our mothers were raised.
Right.
You know, menstrual matters were not issues they would sit down and talk to us like, you know, okay, so this is what happens. You'll probably go through pain and whatever. So, you know, they'd be like, oh, so you stay your period. By the way, stay away from boys.
That's it.
Yeah, because me, I don't want a pregnancy. And I was like, okay, sour. But the way it happened, it was, I was on my way to school. One morning, I was on a bus, and all of a sudden, I just started feeling hot. Remember those KBS days?
Yeah.
You know, they used to stand on the
Unashikilia
KBS.
chuma,
Unashikilia chuma, mazee, imejaa. Then, for some reason, I've not really understood why Kenyans don't like opening windows, you know. And it's since time immemorial.
Stuffy.
Yeah, it's so stuffy, and then I was hot. I was sweating, really, really sweating, like it's dripping.
At 13?
Yeah, at 13. So I didn't know what was happening to me. So we got to Ambassador, and I was like, I can't go to school. I'm going to take the next bus home. So I crossed over, took the next bus home. But now, at that age, I was already getting expelled from school and stuff. And, you know, these were so many occurrences that my mother and my grandmother were already experiencing, that I was coming back home with letters. And so this day, they saw me back in the morning, and they were like, hey, by the way, we hope you're not, you know, we hope you've just not been expelled or you did something at school. And I told them, no, I'm really sick. I don't know what's happening to me.
Yeah.
And they paid attention to it, but they just couldn't pinpoint what it was. And I was really sweating, tried taking a shower, it wouldn't stop. And I was in so much pain, Catherine, so much pain. It felt like acid was being poured in my stomach and babda was being run through my intestines. And I can't even explain to you the kind of pain I felt. And I remember it was so bad, there was a clinic right down where we used to stay, and my mother was like, just if you can go,
Yeah.
you know, where we do some work over here, just go and see the doctor there. It wasn't even a doctor, it was a nurse. If you can go and see her, then come and let us know, because it was just in the hood anyway. So ran over, went to see her, and then she was like, have you started your period? And I was very offended. I was very offended, because I was like, me? Period? What is that? Period? Me, Njambi, a whole Njambi getting periods. Please, do you know who I am? Anyway.
At 13.
At 13.
So much sass.
I know, right? And I was, yeah. Anyway, so I went back home. She gave me some painkillers, I remember. And she was like, if it persists, take this. So I went home, and I remember going to the bathroom and then coming out screaming. I was like, oh my God, Mom, I'm bleeding, I'm bleeding. And then they're like,
now we get it.
that's what it was. So they sat me down and said, okay, so now you've started your period. Now you're a big girl. So stay away from boys, you'll get pregnant. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So even if I get close to a guy, if I just stand next to him, I'll get pregnant. So I was very scared talking to guys, you know. Yeah, so like even in the hood, you know.
You're not talking to boys?
Yeah.
No.
My grandmother was fierce. She'd find you way. It was bad news. So and everyone knew my grandmother,
Right.
so no one would dare.
Yeah.
You know, so anyways, the pain from then on, I had never known a painless period. And it's actually very sad that because of how the generations of my grandmother and my mother had been taught and had been raised, they were taught that period pain is normal and that when you get a child, it will go away. So for them, they were also like, you know, when you get a child, yeah, itaisha. But mine was different. It was so bad.
Crippling.
Yeah, it was crippling. I wouldn't be able to go to school. I wouldn't be able to eat. I wouldn't be able to do anything. I literally became sick. And then, so they decided to take me to hospital. And once they did, I was referred to a gynecologist. The first time I went to a gynecologist, and they said, they put me on birth control at the time. That was around 15. It was horrible, Catherine. It was horrible. Oh my goodness, horrible.
Was that to control your hormones?
Yes, to control the hormones and to stop the period for 3 months. And at the time, I didn't know I had endometriosis. No one knew
what it is.
No one knew what it was.
Yes.
Yeah. So after the 3 months of that birth control, I remember that period was the worst period of my life. I felt like I was gonna die. And I remember telling my mom, Mom, if there's a surgery to remove these things, man, let me just do it. You know, I can't live in this pain. It's too much. Little did I know, the next 10 years would even be worse.
My God.
Yeah, so the pain persisted, and we went to a couple of doctors, and I was misdiagnosed so many times. I was even misdiagnosed to have diabetes, you know, tuberculosis, so many times, so many different diagnoses and misdiagnoses. And I finally got proper diagnosis like 19 years later.
Oh
in my 30s, can you imagine? In my 30s.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a proper diagnosis in 2015, since 1998.
God. Was that from a local doctor?
Yes. And how it happened was, I was on TV fundraising for my grandmother. My grandmother had just been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, stage 4. And I had this very significant, persistent cough, very, very strange cough. And I'd already started going for the surgeries, but how the doctors were treating it was for something called a pneumothorax, a catamenial pneumothorax. That happens maybe if you were in an accident, or if you got stabbed, or if you were in a fight, and your lungs collapse. So at the time, when I was going for these surgeries, the doctors thought it was a normal catamenial pneumothorax. And so what they would do is just, you know, do the surgery, insert the chest tubes, drain out the fluid, and then I'm back. But they had no idea that it was connected to my menstrual cycle.
My God.
That every month when I'm on my period, my lungs must collapse, because the lining of the uterus, it grows outside of the uterus, and nobody knows how it grows outside of the uterus. And so that is endometriosis. And so, which means that the lining had grown in my lungs. So when I was on a period, when I was having my period, I'd have a period in my abdomen and have a period in my lungs.
Oh my God.
And so that's how my lungs would collapse every month. So here I am on TV, coughing, trying to expel the air out of my lungs and fundraising for my grandmother. I had no idea what I was going through. Because when I go to hospital, they tell me it's a pneumothorax. I'm like, okay, so how can we solve this? Yeah. And they say it's only through a surgery. Okay, I'm like, fine. Let's do it then, because I need help and I need relief. It's painful. And
so did someone watch you?
Yes.
Okay.
There was a lady watching, and she was watching this show, and she watched it all the way till the end. And then she sent me a message on Facebook. Cindy, God bless Cindy. I love Cindy with all my heart. Cindy was God sent. And she said, hey, I don't mean to be invasive, but I think you have a problem that, I think you have a similar problem like I do. You have something called thoracic endometriosis, which is a reproductive healthcare issue that's connected to your period. And I would love for you to see my gynecologist, who would explain to you further and would probably run tests. That's if you're interested. So I went and said to my mom, hey, mom, maybe look at this. They just, you know, I received this inbox from this lady, and she said, my mom said, you know, you've tried everything. I tried herbal, I tried all these other doctors, all the biggest chest specialists in this country. There's no hospital I hadn't gone to. Yeah. And she said, let's try this doctor.
My God.
So that's when I went and saw Dr. Praful Patel at the Aga Khan Hospital. And I remember walking in there, and he said, I'd have to run some tests to, you know, so that I can be able to ascertain what the problem is and to be able to properly diagnose you. But after listening to my symptoms, it's like, I suspect you have thoracic endometriosis, but let me just run the test first. And then that's when I started asking, what is this endometriosis thing? What is this thoracic endometriosis? What is this? And then he started explaining to me, and then we did the test, and he found out that I had stage 4 endometriosis and thoracic endometriosis, and then I also had adenomyosis. Adenomyosis, which is the abnormal thickening of the uterus. Very painful, very, very painful. Even sitting down like this would be a problem.
Right.
You know, making a bowel movement would be a problem. Passing urine would be a problem. Walking would be a problem. And I would bloat so much, I would look like I was expectant.
Pregnant, yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible, horrible. So, you know, Cindy was a connection, and I saw Dr. Patel, all divinely orchestrated. And I saw Dr. Patel, he ran the tests, and then I went on Google.
Now to start to study. And
yeah.
What is this?
Oh my God, Catherine.
Yeah.
There was tons and tons and tons of papers on endometriosis, and I was like, what? I was like, it was mind-boggling. Like, I remember I stood by the staircase at the Aga Khan. I was like, no, just no. This is what I've been suffering. No, I was like, no.
It made sense.
It made sense.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah.
My God.
So I had another appointment with Dr. Patel. So I went to see him, and now we were going to discuss how are we going to treat this. And it was so, oh my God. And I had to do so many tests, pelvic ultrasounds. Some I had to do while I was on my period, and they were so painful, and so
Jesus.
it was so invasive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but
The good thing, though, with that is finally there was a proper name,
Yeah.
a proper diagnosis
Yeah.
to what you've been going through.
Right.
So at least you could trash all the meds,
Yeah.
all the treatment, and
Yeah.
now focus on treating the right thing,
Exactly.
the relief,
Yeah.
as bad as it was.
Yeah. I was
Huh.
finally happy. I was like, so this is what I've been battling for I've been battling with all these years. And then came the shocker of all shockers when Dr. Patel was like, you know, there's no doctor here who can treat you. I can't even dare touch you because we do not have skilled experts
Locally.
to cut out this disease. And he said, you must go for a surgery known as excision so that they can be able to cut out the disease from the root cause.
My God.
And I was like, where am I going to go?
Where does it happen?
Yeah, where does it happen? Who are these skilled doctors?
Yeah.
And he was like, you have to go look for them.
He doesn't even know?
He didn't know. So I went online.
Oh, Jesus.
I went online, and there's a big community, and also Dr. Patel helped. We tried India, and they said, no, your case is too critical. We can't be able to treat that.
It was stage 4.
It was stage 4. And then thoracic endometriosis is also very underdiagnosed. It's not rare, it's underdiagnosed. So even Dr. Patel himself was like, now if India have said,
The medical hub of the world.
yeah, if India have said they can't treat you, Njambi, what are we going to do? So we tried the UK, the doctor we found was retiring. He was like, he looked at my records, he was like, I don't think I want to do this before I retire. This looks a bit too complex for me.
My God.
So I was like, wow, okay, what do I do? So we have a community
Yeah.
of endo warriors.
Yeah.
So there's a lady known as Artisha. Artie sends me this picture of this lady who was going through a pulmonary test.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they put like a big machine over your face, and it's connected to the roof, and they ask you to breathe in it, and they're pumping air, and they're just trying to see how well your lungs
Yeah.
work. And I saw this lady, and I went through her profile, and she was talking about thoracic endometriosis, and I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
and this is it. And then I was like, oh my goodness, she's in the States, how am I going to get there? Will she ever respond to me? I said, you know what? The worst she can say is no.
Yeah.
So I reached out to her. I asked her what she was going through, how she dealt with it, and if she ever got treated. And she said, yes. I had thoracic endometriosis. She had 3 episodes of lung collapses, I think, if I'm not so wrong. And she went to the Center for Endometriosis Care in Atlanta, Georgia, and she was treated, and she was fine, and she was back to work. I said, what? I said, give me those contacts. Give me those contacts ASAP,
Yeah.
because I'm dying.
My God.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
And I'm literally dying.
Yeah.
I'm literally just fighting for my life. And she said, oh my goodness. So her name is Njambi Koikai. And she's one of the most fiercest warriors I've ever met. And she's like my sister from another mother. Jenny was very, very helpful. Jenny became a sister. Jenny walked with me, because, when you're going through something like this, you feel alone, because there are not very many people who come out and say they're going through the same thing.
Even can relate to it.
Exactly,
Yeah.
nobody can relate to it.
Yeah.
So when my lungs would collapse, I'd ask Jenny, did you feel this way? Because the pain would come from the shoulder. I wouldn't even be able to lift my hand.
My God.
Yeah, so the pain was immense. It would come from my shoulder all the way to my ribs, and then I knew my lungs were collapsing. And I'd ask Jenny, was this the same way you're feeling? She said, yes. Did you have problems breathing? Yes. How did you manage all of this? And Cindy as well. So it became a whole community. So anyway, reached out to the Center for Endometriosis Care. They responded, and they were like, you need to come. You need to come immediately.
Yes.
Your case is very serious. You need to come immediately. But there was one more challenge. I didn't have the funds.
Yes.
I needed to raise over $100,000. That's more than 10 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember walking back home and telling my mom, the doctors responded.
This is what's needed.
This is what's needed. And we'd just come out of fundraising for my grandmother, who lost her battle to cancer in 2016. And my mom was so deflated. And I told her, you know what? We're going to do this. We're going to do this. We're going to fundraise. I'm going to be fine. Because when we were fundraising, I remember when we were fundraising for my grandmother, my mom was like, so Njambi, what are you going to do? What are we going to do? And I was like, listen, Mom, we're going to fundraise for mommy. Me, God is going to fight for me too.
Yes.
Yeah, and me, I'm a soldier. Me,
Yeah.
I'll fight. me, I'm a soldier.
Yeah.
Me, I fight. Let's fundraise for mommy first. Me, God is going.
Yeah.
Mungu
Take care of me. Yeah. Ooh.
So mommy passed on 2016, and I remember even the day we were burying her, I had just come from hospital. I just got in a surgery, and yeah, I had to go bury her, and then back to hospital again. Then at the time 2016, I was also graduating from USIU.
Wait, you were studying?
Yeah.
Your life was moving as normal,
Yeah.
and you're having this battle going through.
Yeah, I was working, I was studying, I was providing for my people. I was doing everything, and no one ever knew.
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
No one ever knew what I was going through. Nobody ever.
So by the time the pictures that we saw online
Yeah.
for the fundraising,
Yeah.
what had happened now because they had 100 tubes on you.
Yeah. What happened was because of the constant surgeries. Remember, I'd gone through 18 surgeries in Kenya before I left. Yeah, 18. And because of those 18 surgeries, you know, it was all misdiagnosis. And it was basically just to manage it, not really cutting out the disease. So they really, really messed up with my lungs and my abdomen, and so pushed the disease further. So when I went to the States, doctors opened me up, and my lungs proved to be such a great challenge. And I remember it was a surgery that started at, I checked into hospital at 5:30 in the morning, and I was coming out of theater at 8:30 in the evening, more than 12 hours. Yeah, more than 12 hours.
Them correcting what had.
Yeah. They even had to graft part of my lung because half my lung had been eaten up, you know, by the disease. And I stayed in intensive care for a month. And then after that, I was moved to a pulmonary ward in isolation. And then I stayed there for a long time. And I stayed under observation in the States for a year and a half. Because within that year, I also relapsed again. I also got another collapse. I went through another surgery. And 6 months before we came back home, they also discovered some more pockets of air and water. And so I had to go through another surgery. And that was the worst of them all. I literally, you know, the times when I felt the machines, you know, going off, and the times I felt, you know, my oxygen levels going down. And that was a common occurrence. You know, a normal human being saturates at 90. The times I've saturated at 45. And I've had to be rushed across the city. And it was so dramatic. Like, if I tell you, it's like this needs to be a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. A book.
You basically saw death with your own two eyes.
Many times.
Several times.
Several times. Several times. But God stood with me. That's all I say. God stood with me so many times. You. Yeah, so many times.
You know, we are coming back to Njambi's story. Why am I even sliding on your name? And I'm keep going.
Just Fire Mama.
Thank you. We're coming back to Fire Mama's story. She is here. She made it.
Yeah.
18 surgeries in Nairobi and a couple of more in America.
3 in
America.
So 21 in total.
Life and death situations.
Yeah.
Aliona kifo na macho.
Yeah.
You want to give up on something so tiny. Here she is. Well, tiny still.
Yeah. Big voice, big heart.
Yeah.
Big mind.
Yeah, and a fire in your bones.
Yeah.
I see it.
Yeah.
Don't go too far. We'll be back just after this commercial break. 1.5 years in America, relapsing, seeing death, coming back to life. Your faith still strong?
Yeah.
How do you not want to say, you know what, can I just follow mommy?
No.
What kept you going?
God first, my mother. I love my mom so much. And my late grandmother.
Welcome back to the program. It's What's Your Story? So, Njambi, 1.5 years in America, relapsing, seeing death, coming back to life. Your faith still strong?
Yeah.
How do you not want to say, you know what, can I just follow mommy?
No.
What kept you going?
God first, my mother. I love my mom so much. And my late grandmother. Those two women really stood with me And they always taught me never to give up. Like, these are women who went through hell, man, to raise me. And my sister, they went through hell. They sacrificed their lives. They've gone through so much. They didn't have opportunities, and they were never really women who came from privilege. So it was just working so hard and sacrificing their lives for me to be where I am today. I was like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up for mom. I'm not giving up for the community that I come from. Because where I come from, we don't see people like me. I come from the hood. We don't get opportunities. We don't get people who've overcome adversity and come back and say, hey, you know, I'm here. I made it, you know. And we overcome adversity, but we never have opportunities. And we don't see people like us. We don't see people like us. They don't want to see people. They don't want to show us people like us.
That's it. You're supposed to be in the back burner.
Right.
Like, no,
not we don't have a seat at the table.
There you go.
Yeah, nobody wants to welcome us. Nobody is opening doors for us. Nobody, you know, nobody tells us that we matter or we care.
Your sound doesn't matter, your voice.
Yeah, your voice doesn't matter. You come from the hood, so you know what to amta.
You
know? And all these stereotypes and all of that. And I was like, no, man. I gotta show people that I'm taikona to a Miss Mama.
There you go. And when you say Mta, you mean Kangware, where you were born and raised?
I was born and raised in Dago, Ngwaro na Reduta Satellite for W.
What's the middle one you said? Gosh.
Ngwaro.
Oh, Kangware.
Yeah. Oh, oops, Kangware.
Okay.
Ngwaro.
Okay.
I speak a lot of Sheng as well, so.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty, man, you are just this multifaceted, multilingual, multi-talented.
Right, I love code switching as well.
Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, you know, when people stereotype you and people have a different perception of you, you gotta pull up.
So where does Fire Mama come from?
Fire Mama is hood. Fire Mama is ghetto. Fire Mama is reggae.
Okay. And your love for reggae?
I love it because I grew up listening to reggae. My mom's brother is one who introduced me to reggae and music, actually.
Right.
My uncle. So my uncle would come, put the tape in there, and then he'd tell me, Ebu skiza udem, skiza udem, skiza udem. And I was a tiny kid. So I'm like, Winnie Nani? And he's like, when it was Sister Lucy. Say my Sister Lucy. I'm like, Sister Lucy. Then I started listening to Sister Lucy. She was an MC. Yeah, she was an MC.
Is that where your MC gift talent was birthed?
Right, yeah. And then he'd make me listen to the reggae, and he's like, listen to all this music, sing. And then he's like, he's like, this is culture, this is Joseph Hill. Before I knew Bob Marley, I knew Joseph Hill because my uncle loved Joseph Hill. And I love Joseph Hill as well, the late Joseph Hill in culture. So that's how he initiated me into music. And if I wasn't doing reggae, I'd be doing rumba, by the way.
Right?
We love reggae and rumba. In our house, reggae and rumba. So my uncle was my greatest musical influence, and he really, really encouraged me to get into it. And I'm grateful for that because he really guided me into it. And then when I started working, we also got into some business together. Well, it didn't go well because I fell ill, and we started the sound system, and I met people like Selector Techniques who we've worked with together for like 15 years. And for me, the reggae journey has been one of my most formidable moments. One of my most, I love it. I love it. It's given me a base. It's given me a connection to people. People love Fire Mama, and I love the people, and it's where I'm loved and I feel naturally at home.
That's family to you.
That's family. My reggae family is my home.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they must also have stood very strongly and closely with you during that time when you were battling endometriosis.
Yeah, I mean, my reggae people, I don't think, I had a boss who once said that I have a cult-like following. Not once, not twice.
You do.
She said, I have a cult-like following. And I said, it's not a cult-like following. I just give people love, man. People just want love, and people just want the truth, and people just want authenticity in its rawness, you know? And that's why Fire Mama has been appreciated and loved. And one of my biggest fan bases is Kisumu.
Oh.
Yeah. They say in Kisumu, if you go to Kisumu, just say Fire Mama. They say two people speak in Kisumu. Baba and Fire Mama.
Are you for real?
Yeah. That's my biggest fan base.
That's
and of course,
amazing.
Dago, Nairobi.
Yeah.
So, and reggae has given me opportunities, different opportunities to meet different people, to interact with all kinds of people. It's taken me all over the world. And I love it. It's a big part of my life.
That's a beautiful story. I love its genesis. It started with family. I love that a lot. You don't forget those. Just now, just watching you speak about it, so memories were coming.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
So the 1.5 years in America,
Yeah.
and how you cheated death. You didn't cheat death, you overcame. That
Yeah.
was a battle that you won.
Yeah.
Do you feel you were given life back for a reason?
Yeah.
Which is?
I was given life for a reason. I was given another second chance to come and serve people and to impact lives more purposefully than I ever did. And as a child, I've grown through challenges, tribulations, and I've gone through a lot of adversity. And I've grown through a community that has gone through a lot of adversity. Remember, I grew up in a slum. We didn't have water, we didn't have electricity, we didn't have sanitation facilities. And I remember at one point, in 1992, I was a child, but that was the first multi-party democracy election, multi-party election we had in 1992. And I remember the MP who was running for Dagoretti at the time, before Dagoretti was divided into South and North.
Yeah.
The MP who was running then was Chris Kamuyu, KK Kamuyu. And I remember there were Land Rovers that were branded YK92. And they were going around, and you know, they were honking, and everyone was out there singing. And then they had these little tiny flags, like there were Kanu flags that they used to give people.
Yeah.
So people would line up, you know, outside our houses, and people would line up by the road and just waving these flags and singing, you know, these songs. And I was standing between my mother and my grandmother. My mother was latching onto my younger sister, and I was standing in between them, and so I was just observing. And everyone was singing, oh, KK Kamoyo, KK Kamoyo, and all the kids were singing. And so I asked my mom, I tagged onto my grandmother, Mommy, and I said, Mommy, what's going on?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, these are campaigns going on. I said, what are campaigns?
Yeah.
And she said, this person is coming to ask us to vote for him. And I said, who is he? And she said, he's an MP. And I said, okay, so who's an MP? And my grandmother turned over to my mom and she said, can you shake your child? She asked too many questions. She asked too many questions, I can't deal with her. And so I asked my mom, who's an MP? She said an MP is a leader. And I said, who's a leader?
How old were you?
I was very young. I was less than 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
like, who's a leader?
Yeah.
And she said, a leader is someone who leads people. That was her answer. I said, okay, fine, they're leading us. What are they supposed to do for us here?
Right.
Like, what are they leading us here? And I asked and nudged her. And then she said, this MP is supposed to give us water and supposed to give us electricity. I said, but we don't have water and we don't have electricity.
Yeah.
How is he going to do it for us? And then my mom looked at my grandmother, they looked at me, and they had this look they always gave each other when I asked very hard rhetorical questions.
Yes.
And then I kept quiet, and then I said to both of them, I said, when I grow up, I'm going to become an MP, and I'm going to bring water and electricity for our people. And my mother was like, oh my goodness, look at this child. And my grandma used to look at me in disbelief. Yeah, and then we went back to the house.
The seed was planted then.
It was. And a lot of things were also spoken when I was born. As a child of adversity, a child who was born in a lot of strife, there are so many things that were divinely orchestrated in my life.
Okay.
So many things that I wouldn't want to say here were prophesied in my life as a child.
I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I believe it's just the signs of the times coming together for me.
So even, so even when you're going through that, there's prophecy speaking in your life.
Yes.
And also the desire that you had.
Yeah.
Not the desire, it's a calling actually, because calling surpasses desire.
Right.
You asking all of those millions of questions before you got to 10 years old, and then there's this tragedy, traumatic tragedy that just happens, wanting to cripple your life. It didn't stop you.
Never.
No.
My entire life has been a calling. My entire life has been a calling. I remember when I started doing reggae, my grandmother and my mother, people used to tell them, hey, mumepeleka Njambi shule amesoma, sasa anafanyanga kazi ya ringi, hiyo ni kazi gani? My grandmother was very fierce, and she'd say, listen, this is a group of people that has been ignored for a very long time. They haven't had a voice of reason, they haven't had a representative, and that is their representative. That is the person who will fight for their rights. That is the person, that is the face, that is their face. So leave Njambi alone. Yeah, just leave Njambi to do
Don't
her
touch
thing.
my child.
Don't touch my child.
Yeah.
And they know, and my grandmother always said, the reggae people know why they love her. They know why they would spend time listening to her. And she'd always tell them, she doesn't have, she's not the richest, she doesn't have all the money, but she's very wise, she's young, and she knows how to feel and
connect
with the people.
Yes.
And my mother and my grandmother always said that is the biggest blessing you have. And share it with people.
Yeah.
Because like I said, where we come from, we don't get people who connect with us. We're always seen as outsiders. No one really shows us that we care or we matter. Nobody really takes our issues to heart. And nobody's really fighting for us.
And that's what you want to do now.
Yes.
The aspirations you hold now are huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
Tell me about that, your political aspirations.
I understand the the enormous responsibility that's been placed on me, and for me, it was either now or never. It was either now or never, and this was the right time for me to do it, because first of all, we have a huge youth crisis in Dagoretti South. The issue of youth unemployment is huge, but we fail to understand what is youth unemployment. Have we come down to the youth and really had a chat with them, really communicated with them and understood what issues they're facing? What do the youth like doing? What do the youth love doing? Our youth are into sports and art. Two of the biggest income generating activities all over the world, but not in this country. Why? Because we've consistently ignored that part about the youth. Why don't we empower young people? Why don't we open up those spaces for them and create more platforms for them? The youth want to play football.
Yeah.
Why can't we put in policies to stop land grabbing? Why can't we protect the pitches that are there? Why can't we, refurbish our pitches? Yeah. Why can't we find sponsors for these teams? We have formidable community teams. We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. No, I know.
Yeah. We do.
Yeah.
And if we get sponsors, those young guys can get paid and they can do what they love. Not everybody can be a doctor, not everybody can be an engineer. And even those who want to be doctors and engineers, they deserve an opportunity and a platform as well. Innovators. Are we thinking about that? Yeah.
Actually, some of the most recognized innovators, the ones that you just find on page 10 of the newspaper, come from the slum areas.
Exactly.
And they've been fitted in New York.
Yeah.
And you're like, what story is this? How come it's not making headlines?
Yeah,
How come it's not trending?
Yeah, because we're not giving them the platforms and we're not empowering them.
Yes.
But what we are doing, we're disempowering the youth, and we're frustrating them so they become more depressed. And then we keep on wondering, why are the youth into crime? Why are the youth into alcohol? If you're not refurbishing the pitches, if you're not creating studios, if you're not creating hubs where they can come and create, content is king right now. If you're not creating platforms for our youth to take advantage of these opportunities of social media, which is employing so many people, but instead we build and enlarge our police stations, we're getting it wrong. If we are not looking into how we're disbursing the bursaries because of nepotism, that our mothers cannot go to the CDF office if they don't know someone. You gotta know someone to know someone to know someone to get that bursary. Every child deserves an opportunity to an education. Every child.
Yeah.
I am a product of an opportunity. Every child in our community deserves that opportunity. Every child. And if we're talking about business development, have we gone down to our mama mbogas and sat down and had a chat with them? Have we sat down and realized what challenges they're facing? Are we talking about how Kanjo is always taxing them? Kanjo is after their biasharas,
Yeah.
Are we talking about that? Are we thinking about how they're heavily taxed?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not talking about that.
There's a lot.
There's so much. You come to the Greater South, we've had an issue of water, persistent water shortages. Like, I can't tell you the last time niliona maji ya Kanju. And if you don't have a borehole, what does that mean for our neighbors who have to buy water? If a mtungi is going for 20 bob, do your math, 20 times 7, that's 1,400. And if you're using maybe 10 mtungis per day, that's 200. 200 times 7, 1,400. So are you going to buy water? Are you going to buy food? And for the women and girls, are you going to buy pads?
My God. So that's what you want to come in and
Right.
just put in order.
Yes.
You want to bring order back. Basically,
Yes.
that's it.
I do.
Yeah.
And I want to change the lives of my community positively. And I also want to go in there and legislate bills. Excuse me. I want to go in there and legislate bills.
Yeah.
And my main agenda is healthcare reforms in this country. I've gone through this system and I know. And I know what ails our healthcare system. Privatization of our healthcare facilities, of our healthcare institutions is the biggest problem we're facing in this country. We must empower public institutions. We must.
Yeah.
We must go back to empowering a public healthcare system.
Yeah.
We must.
Man, I see you in it.
Yeah.
Like who better than someone who has gone through hundreds of doctors
Yeah.
and misdiagnosis,
Right.
and you had to seek treatment outside.
Yeah.
And that skill can easily, it's cheaper to bring that skill here, even if for a year, pay for them to come.
Yeah, and our doctors can get trained. But the government is not training doctors.
No.
No. And reproductive health care for women
My God.
is a forgotten issue.
Yeah.
Is a forgotten issue. Look at this. Let me give you the numbers.
Yeah.
Children nowadays, as young as 9, are starting to menstruate. You have girls starting to menstruate at the ages of 9.
Oh, okay.
So from 9 past 45, which is, menopausal age, at 45 a woman, many women start experiencing menopause at that
Yeah.
age. But then studies have also shown that endometriosis is not a menopausal thing. It doesn't end with menopause. So that means that if a child is battling endometriosis from the ages of 9 past 45, how many millions are those? Look at that demographic. It's huge. And the statistics state that 1 in 10 women are battling endometriosis. Now, those statistics are from the West. We haven't done our own
Imagine
statistics.
here.
I believe,
It's more.
through my experience, I think it's 4 out of 10. This means that the government must really change in terms of how we're funding our public institutions and healthcare system. And I do understand sometimes because of IMF and the Bretton Woods institutions in terms of privatization of our public institutions to pay debt. That is where the catch is. And it really makes me sad for African countries and African nations, because sometimes when, all this time we've been told about loans and aid and stuff, I think it should have been more about trade, never about aid. Yeah.
Because with trade, then we are fighting on equal ground. Yeah, it's equal actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's equal ground.
Yes.
Yeah, but I give you money. I give it to you for free.
True.
I'll take away because you can't pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
we should have started with this. No, but the other one also is.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I really pray you get it.
Yeah.
I really pray you do.
And listen, we have to, we listen, they keep saying we're the future leaders of tomorrow. We're the future leaders of today.
now.
And now. We've gone through this system, we've gone
Yeah.
through the pain, we've gone through the agony, we're unemployed, we're sick.
Yeah.
And I feel so sad that most of us are at our prime when we should be, working and earning and, experiencing our best potential.
Yes.
But right now, people are going through unemployment, and then we're also inheriting our parents' hospital bills.
We're taking care of them.
We're taking care of them.
And our kids are committing suicide because they've lost hope.
Exactly. There's no hope.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
want to encourage each of us.
Please actually just do it.
Yeah. I just want to encourage each of us that there's hope. And we are the ones to take charge of this country. For too long, we've let other people take charge of this country. We've let other people take charge of our affairs. And those people don't understand who we are. And they will never understand us because they're not us. But we are who we are, and we are us. And for us to be where we want to be, we have to work together. And we have to come together as a community, and we have to come together as young people, as mothers, as the elderly, as the wazés. We have to come together with a common goal to know that this country will change if we only have the same vision. And that vision must be led by a visionary. So make the right choice this August. Make the right choice. There are very many people vying very many young people vying, very elderly people vying, very middle-aged people vying. Make sure you make the right choice. Listen to the voice of reason. Make the right choice. This is a very decisive election in our country. It's one that could make or break us. Make the right choice. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Man, all the best.
Thank you.
We should have this conversation again right before the elections.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
right after.
Yeah.
After Manam.
Okay, Charity wants to just come in here and say goodbye, so we will stop this here.
Okay.
Thank you
No
for
problem.
making time for us.
No problem.
And all the very best.
Thank you.
If people want to reach you, maybe they want to support you, maybe they want to be a part of your campaign
That would be
team.
glorious.
Yeah?
That would be
How
great.
can they?
I'm on Facebook, Njambi Koikai, Instagram, Njambi Koikai, Twitter, Njambi Koikai. Just follow me on every on social media.
Uh-huh.
You can get in touch with me. I'd love. We ran a rallying call for volunteers. We got some. I would really love to have more people volunteering on my campaign
Awesome.
because I'm going door to door.
Yes.
And there are very many other things I would want to. Of course, we also need logistical support.
Yes.
Because I'm running on an independent ticket.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah. So we need all the support we can
Yeah.
get, and I would really, really appreciate it.
Right.
Yeah.
Let me just say kwaheri. Sina maneno mingi. I need to. Ciao. Thanks
Yeah.
for watching.
All right. Bye-bye.
Good morning, madam.
Morning.
My name is Peter. Welcome to the Salova Stanley.
Thank you so much. Do you have parking?
Yes, we do, madam. Here at Salova Stanley, we've got parkings with two options. The first one is valet parking. The second one is self-parking.
I'd love the valet parking.
Thank you, madam.